Hello, and welcome to another Fantasy Premier League video. My name is Steve, and today we're taking a look at what to do with Solly March and only 0.1 million in the bank. But first, game week 35 was another green arrow for the team, albeit a small one. We've only gone up the ranks by 20,000 places. But that makes it only 3 red arrows in the last 20 game weeks. So game week 15, since game week 15 I've only had 3 red arrows, and the team is, I suppose, marching along up the ranks. It was not at all helped by having Steele in goal, who conceded 5 goals, including an own goal, to give his game week score of -2, contributing to my final points tally of 41, with an average of 39, which brought my green arrow down a little bit. And in the same game, Solly March started on the bench, came on off the bench onto the pitch, looked pretty good, and then looks to have pulled his hamstring in a full field sprint. We haven't yet found out what the injury is, but if that is not some sort of pulled hamstring or a tear of some sort, I will eat my hat. So he is almost certainly out for the rest of the season. Elsewhere around the squad, Kanate managed to come through with a clean sheet to block Trent Alexander-Arnold's clean sheet, but he managed to pick up a yellow card in the match, pulling him away with 5 points. Salah scored the only goal to earn 2 bonus to go along with his clean sheet to get a double-digit return, the only double-digit return in the team, of 10 points. McAllister scores probably one of the luckiest goals you'll ever see, where he actually went in for a flying karate volley shot, misses the ball completely. It goes through to Matoma at the back post, who shoots into the post and rebounds to hit the falling McAllister, who's just missed his shot in like the back of the head, back of the shoulder, to ricochet across the line and earn him 8 points for the match in the 5-1 demolition of Brighton. One thing to note about McAllister, watching that match, I actually had some game notes down here, and it says, geez, where has it gone? McAllister looked, this is in the 29th minute, so 30 seconds in, mistake from Matoma, huge mistake from Dunk going for a lunge to give Calvert-Lewin an easy run into goal, who crosses to Corey and scores. The next match note is not until the 29-minute mark, where Decore scores again, but I've got the notes down here saying McAllister looked super tired trying to chase down the counter-attack, and it was his man that scored, as he had no marker in the box. When McAllister finally realised, he did start sprinting later, but he should have started sprinting a lot earlier to chase down the counter-attack. Some of the Brighton lads are looking tired. I think De Zerbi is quite aware of that as well, which is what he noted, or I also noted in some of his press conference comments from the last video, that he was figuring out how to rotate people, and he wasn't too sure how to rest McAllister, March or Matoma. But he's obviously noticing that they're quite tired, and with the fixture congestion coming up, it is not going to get any easier, especially considering it is likely that March will be out. So McAllister looking tired, March out. They've just conceded 5 against Everton. It's interesting over at Brighton. Haaland blanked, who's my captain, but had his fair share of chances to score in the match. And consistent Kane returns yet again, scoring the only goal in the match and picking up 2 bonus points. He is the reason that I have scraped through with a very small green arrow. for game week 35. Now, I did mention in the last video that I was looking for early team news about Alvarez, who I was looking to do a 1 week hokey cokey on, considering the fixture was looking quite good. We did get early team news for Man City. That was Grealish was benched and that Mahrez was starting, Haaland was starting, because there was a little bit of talk about whether or not Haaland would start in around the Real Madrid matches, and also that KDB was starting too. No information about Alvarez, and considering that KDB was starting, I thought Alvarez was probably going to be on the bench. It worked out that both actually started. Alvarez didn't come away with any returns. He looked okay in the match. It would have been an alright trade, although not making the hokey cokey transfer looks like it will have probably saved me 4 points this week, as I do have 2 free transfers to run with, and obviously March probably being out of this fixture and the remaining fixtures for the rest of the season. So to jump right on into it for March replacements, I've obviously only got 0.1 million in the bank, so I can't immediately go to the obvious transfer, which would be Mitoma. Brighton have a double this week, a double next week, and then a fixture on the final day of play, meaning they've got 5 games in 3 game weeks. I have mentioned, though, that Brighton are looking pretty tired, but I just cannot go away from Brighton and turn down all those doubles. I did flirt with the idea of going with an Arsenal midfielder, but I just do not have the funds to do so. So I am looking within the Brighton unit in order to replace March. Now, who's actually going to play in March's spot out on the right wing could be Enciso, Buonanotte, or even maybe a Pascal Gross could all feasibly play out at right wing. Buonanotte was the man who did start in the, I think it was the Manchester United fixture a few games ago, or a couple of game weeks ago, when March was benched, and so he looks like he may be the man that comes in there, but it is just super not assured, whereas Mitoma is the man who looks the most nailed, and obviously if you already own Mitoma, McAllister would be the obvious replacement for March there, with McAllister being on penalties. But I pretty much have to go for Mitoma. Now, considering I do have 2 free transfers, I can gain the funds, but the funds will have to come out of my bench. So let's have a look at my game week 36 starting lineup. Now, I'm currently starting Steele in net. There is a little bit of talk around the community that conceding 5 goals may see Sanchez come back into the first team fray. However, I don't know that conceding all 5 goals was necessarily Steele's issue in that match. Yes, he did score the own goal. His positioning for that own goal was probably not optimum. He was standing a bit too far out of the goal line. He should have been a little bit back so that he can make the move out if he wants to, but if you already start there and the ball gets drilled across like it did, it's very hard for a goalkeeper to react and save the cross, but also not deflect it into his own goal, which he did. He has saved a penalty in the prior game weeks, and he's been distributing relatively well, and so I don't know if it's enough for De Zerbi to drop him. I think it would also be a bit rough, to be completely frank, to kind of blame that whole loss on Steele and net, and so I think he will probably play this match. My other goalkeeper here is De Gea, who I bought in on my Game Week 31 wildcard in order to bench boost in Game Week 34. Now both players do have a double next week, so I cannot play both goalkeepers in the Game Week 37 double, with Brighton obviously having their double at home to Southampton and at home to Man City, so 2 home games. Second game is terrible, obviously. With De Gea having an away game to Bournemouth, who are relatively attacking, and then a home game to Chelsea. So on a straight up fixture shootout, I would say Brighton probably slightly edge it, as Man City is a way tougher opponent than Chelsea, and Bournemouth are actually a relatively good attacking unit. Southampton are relegated. And so I am most likely playing Steele next week. And if you are reading between the lines here, you may have figured out where I may be grabbing my funds from in order to upgrade March. But across the back line, I am starting Trippier and Botman for their doubles away to Leeds and at home to Brighton. I am choosing to go with Luke Shaw at home to Wolves instead of starting Kanate away to Leicester. Having a look around the community, I think most managers out there are pretty well prepped for the double game week, which means that Trent Alexander-Arnold, the man that Kanate is blocking clean sheets for, will probably be on a lot of managers' benches this week. And I do think that Man United have probably got a better chance of keeping a clean sheet given they are at home, whereas the Liverpool game is away to Leicester, even though Leicester have not been performing as well. Zuma on my bench is just a dead spot. He was there on the Game Week 31 wildcard in order to bench boost. He got injured in that bench boost game week and was not planned to be played for any of the remaining game weeks. Zuma is only 4.4 million though, and in order to downgrade him to gain funds, there's not a hell of a lot of funds that I can gain out of Zuma. I mean, I could go down to someone like a Totti at Wolves, is like 3.9 million. That'll give me 0.5 million to play with, which is enough to upgrade March, but it does limit my options in Game Week 37, as I will be again hard up against it for money in the bank to be spending. Across the midfield, we have Rashford at home to Wolves, Salah away to Leicester. McAllister is my vice-captain simply because he has penalties for a very tricky double game week fixture away to Arsenal and away to Newcastle. I should have mentioned Steele. I do not expect him to keep any clean sheets in this match, in either match, sorry. He probably will pick up some save points. It is a very tricky double, but hopefully he will be covering any Estupiñán or Dunk points should they sneak a clean sheet there. As I said, March is there, but he will be transferred out. I have Isak still up front, who was the man that was going to be sold for Alvarez, and I was going to be buying either Isak or Wilson back this game week. That probably would have been Isak regardless of what happened. He's just a little bit more assured of minutes and seems to be doing quite well on the bonus, even when he is not getting amongst the attacking returns. I think it was last game week he only came away with 1 assist in a 5-goal fixture and came away with 2 bonus points. So the bonus points is edging it there, plus they are away to Leeds in the first game. Should be mentioned though that that Leeds fixture with Allardyce in charge is now not quite as easy of an attacking fixture, as he is playing a 4-5-1 system, which will be super hard to break down for any team that is not in the upper echelons of the Premier League. Newcastle are in the upper echelons of the Premier League, and so I do think they will be able to break Leeds down. It will be interesting to see what happens when or if Leeds do go 1 goal down in the match. In the fixture against Man City, they started with a 4-5-1 setup. Even though they conceded goals, they did not break that formation. They did not try and counter. They did not try and win the game. I think Allardyce was just taking it as a bit of a training session, kind of a crash course, chucked them in the deep end. Doesn't matter what happens in this match. You need to learn how to defend, because it's the games after the Man City game that will be most important for Leeds if they are to survive relegation. And so Leeds will be a bit more of a tricky fixture for the remaining matches. However, if they do concede a goal, they can't just do what they did against Man City and sit back in that 4-5-1 shape. They will need to hunt down that goal to equalise or go and try and win the match. And so I think that Leeds fixture is still a really good one, with them down the bottom of the table, even though they are playing with a park the bus system. Haaland up front away to Everton is obviously going nowhere, and my main differential in Harry Kane up front is away to Aston Villa this week. I've got Grealish starting on the bench again for a couple of reasons. I don't see anywhere in the midfield that I would be benching. I would probably start Rashford and Salah both ahead of Grealish, and I will always be playing my double game weekers when they are attackers. Sometimes I will bench a double game week defender, but considering we're talking about the midfield or attack here, Grealish completely missed out on the game at the weekend. He was benched. He didn't even make it onto the pitch. That will probably happen again. That Real Madrid match absolutely took it out of a lot of the Man City players that played that game. KDB was blowing. He scored an amazing goal to equalise in that semi-final fixture. Grealish did a ton of running. The whole team did a ton of running, and I suspect that the team that started in game week 35 for Man City will probably be the same team that starts again in game week 36, as most of the first choice 11 will probably be saved for that second leg fixture in the Champions League match. I am holding on to Grealish though, because I think he is clearly first choice, and once that semi-final Champions League match is done, I think Pep will just go and focus on the Premier League, as the title race is still quite close, and Grealish should probably get quite a lot of minutes in the double next week. And as I've mentioned, I've already got Kanate on the bench and Zuma on the bench too. So for those of you that were reading between the lines, my most likely transfer out this week is going to be De Gea. I do not like having to make a goalkeeper transfer with only 3 game weeks left in the season. However, I do not have any other easy way of getting funds in order to upgrade March, but also to have enough funds available should I need to deal with Grealish in game week 37. So the transfer I'm looking at is De Gea out to Forster. Now, I was initially looking at Everson from Leicester. Steele is, well, when I bought Steele on my wild card in game week 31, he was the man that I was going to be playing pretty much every week for the rest of the season. The last game of the season for Brighton is away to Aston Villa, which is a little bit of a tough one. Whereas Forster, down at 3.9 million, his last game of the season is away to Leeds. With Leeds lining up with a 4-5-1 system, I do not expect them to be going all-out attack against Tottenham in that last game of the season, and so I will probably end up playing Forster over Steele in game week 38. So that transfer does actually make a bit of sense. I buy a better shot at a clean sheet. Well, I say a better shot at a clean sheet. Spurs' defence has been pretty higgledy-piggledy. I think a big part of that is Perisic and his role in terms of the defensive duties. Perisic wasn't on the pitch last week. Porro was playing in midfield, and to be fair to Tottenham, their defence did look a little bit more sound in the game week 35 fixture compared to what they have previously. And so if Mason does start a similar lineup for the last game weeks of the season, I'm not too concerned about playing Forster in that game week 38 fixture. He's also an okay backup in each of the 3 game weeks if Steele does in fact lose his place to Sanchez. I'm picking that he won't lose his place, but if he does, Spurs away to Aston Villa. It's not great. Aston Villa are a pretty good attacking unit. They will probably score in that game, but it is a decent enough cover keeper. 3.9 million, you can't be asking for a hell of a lot. Brentford at home. Brentford are another good attacking side. At least it's a home game. We could sneak a clean sheet there, maybe. And of course, that Leeds fixture in game week 38 is the other main reason that we are pulling in Forster. That will leave me the 1.2 million in order to deal with March, who will just be going up to Matoma. Very boring transfer. I think pretty much all or most people out there that are dealing with March will be going to either McAllister or Matoma this week. Most of you probably got enough money in the bank in order to do that with just one transfer. I've got to burn one on a goalkeeper transfer who will be sitting on my bench in order to fund it. However, this leaves me 0.8 million left over for game week 37, where we will likely be playing something like this in the last double game week of the season. I am not sure of whether or not I will be starting Kanate or Botman. Let's just put in Botman for now, as Leicester is probably an easier fixture than Aston Villa, but these are decisions that we can make next week. As I mentioned, Grealish could be a bit of a rotation risk in game week 37. Foden is back. He played the full 90. Did he play the full? I think he played the full 90 in game week 35. There could be a slight chance that Grealish gets rotated. Maybe we need to look at pulling in a different Man City option. The problem with Grealish is I did buy him at 6.9 million. He is now up to 7.2 million, and so my sell value is actually only 7 million. And if I want to go to any other Man City midfielder for this game, say if we get early team news or Grealish gets injured in the Champions League match or whatever, I would not be able to easily move Grealish on with only one free transfer if I do not severely downgrade De Gea this game week. The other reason that I have chosen De Gea as my potential downgrade is it then opens up the option of, if Grealish is playing game week 37, I can then go to Bruno Fernandes as my third Man United option to buy just one more double game weeker for game week 37 for a pretty good attacking set of fixtures of Bournemouth away and Chelsea at home. Now this leaves me 4.3 million in the bank, which is ever so slightly shy of what I was planning on doing in game week 38 before the March injury, which was Grealish up to someone like a Son for that Leeds fixture away as a 1 week play for a bit of a differential on a great fixture. But as you can see at the top of the screen, I am now short on that by 0.2 million, which is the funds of going March up to Matoma. So this would be game week 38. We would have Forster and net. We'd be benching Botman, and I'm a little bit unsure what we're going to do here. But that was my tentative plans. It's obviously been a bit ruined by the March injury, so we will have to look at a different 1 week play instead of Sun in game week 38. So that's it for today's video. Tried to keep it short as there is not a hell of a lot of options out there. I think everyone is looking to deal with March, and if not, they are just going for a Newcastle or a Brighton option if you have not already tripled up on both teams. And so that's it for the video. So if you are listening to this right now, please do consider giving the video a like, and if you are new around here, hit that big red subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified about future FPL content coming your way. And until next time, I'll catch you again shortly. Cheers.